Hi, and welcome to the Polyrhythm Engine. This is my submission for my midterm project in Creative Coding for Sound, which is a class in my Sound Design Master's program at the University of Edinburgh. This is by far the most complex program I've ever written in Max MSP. It's the biggest and has the most functionality, and I'm pretty proud of it. I'm proud of everything that I learned in this process, and I just wanted to walk you through sort of everything that it does, the front end, and then I'll give you a very quick tour of what the back end looks like as well. So this is the Polyrhythm Engine. As you can see here, we have down in the middle bottom, we have these two buttons that will act as visual aids, as well as these two keyboards, and you can follow these along to watch the polyrhythms go by. Here in the middle, we have a tempo bar, which we can select any number of tempos that we want, and we'll always retain a polyrhythm, no matter what tempo you choose. And then here, up in the top left, you'll have your polyrhythm selection. So these are achieved by just pushing the button on the keyboard itself, anywhere 1 through 9, and you'll get these polyrhythms down here. So I will just hit spacebar, and you'll see what this thing sounds like. Okay, so you can see that we basically just have a metronome, but it's a polyrhythm metronome. And so you can select any tempo, and you can achieve any of these pre-selected polyrhythms. So I'll just select another polyrhythm, give it a different tonality, we'll make it Dorian, and I can harmonize the second voice, which is this one on the right, and the purple keyboard down here, and I'll just make it a different tempo and hit spacebar. All right, so let me just explain what these different options on either side are. So over here on the bottom right, we have your overall tonality. So you can pick the scale that these two voices will play against, or these voices that are playing against each other, they are still in the same scale, but you can harmonize the second voice by just pushing every note up any of these intervals, unison through octave. And then here on the left, you have some options for the note patterns themselves. So I'll just make this one go down. So now they're going to be in opposite directions here, and you can watch these go by down in the bottom. So you'll see the green one is going up and the purple one's going down. Green is this one on the left, purple is this one on the right. I can make them both go down. Okay, makes sense. Now you'll see whenever I make a different selection, this on-off switch will flicker. Watch. And that is because every time you make a choice of the notes that are being played or the tempo that's being played, it has to restart. So that's a kind of a quick fix that I implemented, where it just very quickly restarts the whole program. This is so that it keeps the integrity of the polyrhythm, because if you don't get this first note together, you see every time they hit 1 right there, if they don't start at the same time, that's not a polyrhythm. All right. And that's so you can change and play with it without having to manually hit spacebar on off again and restart the system. Okay, so I also want to show you what this drunk sounds like. So drunk is a function in Max MSP which is sort of controlled randomness. It's a random number, but you can control the distance that each number is away from each other. So you can say pick any random number as long as it's 4 numbers away from the one before it. So you're not going to get a whole bunch of craziness all over the keyboard. you'll get a little bit something more resembling a melody. So I'll just make this bottom one drunk here. We'll see what that sounds like. You can see it starts going down and it comes back up. And we can make it start at the top note. Or we can start at the low. We can make them both drunk. Now they're both just kind of going randomly, but controlled randomness. Alright, and you can silence one voice. Or silence them both, but the polyrhythm will still be running. Sometimes it helps to hear one voice isolated to really get the sense of the polyrhythm. And then finally, I'll just show you this polyrhythm demo, which is a sampler platter of everything, all the polyrhythms that this has to offer. And just to crank it up a notch, I will make this one harmonic, drunk, and we'll just cycle random tonalities and harmonies each time. Okay. Now, you might be wondering what this W is over here. So W, this is the smoother switch, and this always has to be on to ensure smooth transitions. And this was sort of the hack that I coded together to ensure that you didn't have to manually start and stop the Polyrhythm Engine every time you made a different selection. And I'll show you how all this works. So this is the front end of the Polyrhythm Engine, and I will now take you into the back. All right, so this is what, let me just zoom out so you can get a sense of how big this is. This is what Max MSP looks like for all of you who have never seen this before. You have these sort of objects, and they're all corded together with these patch cables. Okay, so each rectangle, each black rectangle that has text in it is an object that does a thing, and then you have some that only handle numbers. These right here just are message controls. And then these here, if I click on this one, are more programs. So you can have program within a program, and this is how you keep things organized. Although, as you can see, it's definitely not the world's most organized program. But like I said, this is all kind of my first time doing this, and I'm pretty excited to have achieved, what I have. So I'll just walk you through real quick the more important functions here. This is big switch. Actually, is not. It's not your on-off switch. Your on-off switch is down here, and here's the smoother. So real quick, I'll just show you what the smoother does. So for anyone who has a programming background, you would know what a while loop is. I kind of have this while loop going here where this metro 200 is the amount of milliseconds between signals. So every 200 milliseconds it's blasting out a signal. So, 5 times a second, that's blasting a signal. But that signal isn't doing anything until you make a change, and here's the changes. So these are all connected to all the different changes you can have in the program. And then once that's activated, it'll allow through exactly 2 bangs. Bangs are the name of the signal, this particular kind of on-off, or just generally used signal in Max MSP. And it'll very quickly restart. In 2/5 of a second, it'll restart the program, basically. And then it'll close the gate. And it'll still be sending 5 signals a second, but they won't be going anywhere. So whenever you make a change, it only allows 2 bangs out to restart the on-off switch. And then, yeah, so that's how the smoother works. Obviously, it's not the most elegant program in the world, and I was on a deadline, so this was the best sort of hack that I could come up with. So these are all polyrhythms, right? So as you can see here, here's the polyrhythm selection. Okay, and these are controls for the demo where you can cycle through different ones. And then here's the ratios. So these are how the polyrhythms are calculated, because all the polyrhythm is just a unit of time divided up into equally spaced ratios, basically. So you have number 1 here. I'm just tapping number 1 on the keyboard. And you have this sort of seed number, and it's coming out. These are multiplication objects. I'll just zoom in on that for you. Here we go. So I'm just tapping 1 on the keyboard. So this is the select 1, so 1's getting through. And it's just taking that number and multiplying by 3 and by 2 and sending them both out. This is an outlet. All right, so it's coming out of that outlet. So this is what we were just looking at, down into here, and it's getting routed out. Now these are all MIDI notes, by the way, and I'm routing them all out through Ableton. There we go. So nothing fancy here. I actually didn't really spend a whole lot of time having the nicest Ableton synths out there. I really wanted something that was clear and 2 different synths that could be distinct, and then a nice piano chord patch just to orient the listener's ear. Okay, so we have our options here and more options here. Let's see what else is interesting in here. Here's the player. Let's see. Oh, the notes. So like I said, it's 1 through 9, so I'm just hitting 1 through 9 on the keyboard. All right, and one thing I realized is that if you want to recreate a polyrhythm, you have to get the ratios right. So you have to multiply out the seed number according to the ratio, but you also have to get the number of notes per sequence right. And so this is where that is all controlled. And then you have your note selection here, and finally your scales. So these are all programs within programs within programs, basically. And yeah, that's what the Polyrhythm Engine all looks like on the back end. And like I said, there's definitely a whole lot more that I could have done with it, and certainly bugs I could have fixed. But here we are. I'm pretty excited that I actually got this to work as well as it does. And I look forward to iterating on it and making it work better in the future. So thanks for watching.